Subject Law of Contract 1, Subject Code U18 PCGL 101. Topic Impossibility of Performance by N. Ramanathan, Assistant Professor, Bharat Institute of Law, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research, Chennai. Impossibility of performance under the law of contract. When there is a contract entered, valid contract entered between the parties, it is their duty, obligations to perform the contract. They cannot escape from the responsibility of performing the contract. It is always their duty to perform a promise undertaken under a contract, and when they are not able to do the performance, it is always treated as a breach of contract. In such cases, they will be liable for the damages. But at the same time, there is a concept of impossibility of performance under the Indian Contract Act 1872. Not only under the Indian law, it is also very well established in the English law also, English law of contract. So today we will see what is the idea of impossibility of performance that makes an excuse for performing the contract. Legal impossibility, it should be a legal impossibility. It is an excuse under the law of contract. In such case, where it happens, the legal impossibility happens, the parties need not perform their obligations under a contract. It is always the case where the legal impossibility arises. So now let us see what is meant by the legal impossibility in performing a contract which is already undertaken by the parties. Normally, these things may happen even after entering into a contract. The subject matter may be destroyed by an act of God or nature or accident which is beyond the control of the parties. So here you can find there must be some subject matter in a law of in the contract entered between the parties under the law. What is the subject matter? For example, there is a property, simple idea, there is a property. The parties entered in a contract for the sale of a property, purchase of the property. After entering into the contract, before completing the contract or before executing the performance of the contract, it may happen that the subject matter, that is the property, is destroyed. They agreed to sell. For example, they agreed to sell a property. After 2 months or 3 months, they made some advance amount also received. There is a consideration is also there. It may be some around 50 lakhs rupees to be paid for the property, purchase of a particular property. And they may have given advance of rupees 5 lakhs also as an advance. So the balance payment of 45 lakhs is due. Once they are making the payment within agreed period of some 2 months or 3 months, they will make the balance payment of 45 lakhs rupees and the property will be sold to them and the necessary registration of property will be undertaken as per the terms of the contract. This is a contract. But what happens? They enter into such contract in the month of February. Maybe they have to complete it by May or June. By that time, by March or April, the property itself destroyed. It is not because of the parties. It is not because of the owner. Something beyond the control of the parties it happened. But it is an act of God means there some natural events happened. Some flood has come. Some lightning has come. Some thunder and lightning. So many things happens in real life. Some natural things happens. So automatically earthquake happens. So automatically the property may be damaged. If the property is damaged, which is the subject matter of the contract, and it is destroyed by act of God in the art and nature, or some accident, maybe fire accident or some other accident happens beyond the control of the party. Even a flight may fall on the property and the property destroyed. Then what is the liability of the owner of the property? How he'll be able to give the property now? It is destroyed already. It is not at all physically possible or even not legally possible to give that particular property under the sale agreement. Now, whether the owner is excused? Yes, the owner can be excused. He need not perform the contract. Then what is his liability? At the most maximum, whatever advance amount received, he is liable to repay it. So he will be liable to repay the only the advance amount of 5 lakhs rupees received by him, and he will not be liable to sell the property because it is not possible now. It is impossible now because of the act of God. So he cannot be compelled even by a court of law because it is not logical when he is lost his own property. Now he is the only the owner of the property because the property is not transferred to the agreed buyer only, proposed buyer only. He has not purchased the property. So he already lost his property. Whatever he received as advance also he is liable to repay it. Now nobody can compel, even court cannot compel to give the property because he has agreed already. But now it is not there. The circumstances changed. When he entered into the agreement, there was a property. So he was able to sell the property, transfer the property. He has every legal right to transfer the property at the time of entering into the contract. But now what happened? The property is destroyed by act of God, by nature, by accident, whatever it may be. Then he is no more having that property. Now it is not possible for him legally also to give a property under that agreement. That agreement is called frustrated also because the subject matter for which they enter into the agreement, it is all destroyed. It is a frustration. That agreement will not serve any other purpose except returning back any advance amount, etc. received also. So the purpose of the particular contract, if it is known to the parties also, cease to exist. What is the purpose of the particular contract? Some of the leading case laws. Let us see. So under the Contract Act, Indian Contract Act, Section 56 of the Indian Contract Act deals with impossibility of performance. It has two parts. One is if they are entering into an agreement which is not at all possible, then it is a void in the from the beginning itself. Suppose there is a somebody is thinking that he is having a property. Other person is also thinking that yes, he is having a property. They are entering into an agreement. But without their knowledge, already that property was already destroyed before entering into the contract. This first part is before entering into the contract. They may be under mistaken impression. Some property is there, so we are selling the property. That is their idea. But later they will find that it is not at all there. Something happened, that property is not at all existing. So naturally, what happens? It is impossibility of performance. So the agreement is void from the beginning because in that beginning itself it is impossible. For example, it was happening in olden days. Nowadays, the communications methods are very faster. So we get the information immediately by any kind of modern communication methods. But in olden days, a communication may reach after 1 day only. They have to wait for some telegraph. Then only they may come to know something happened. For example, when the goods are arriving by way of ship in olden days, only when the ships arrive at a particular place, they will come to know that yes, something happened to that ship or something happened to the goods transported in the ships. After arriving, only the communications are not very faster or not very modern in those days, olden days. So normally what happens when the goods are coming in the ship, it is a usual customary practice, commercial practice to sell the goods on the basis of documents available with them. So a buyer already purchased the goods and the goods are coming in a ship. It is delivered to be delivered to the buyer. Now he is the owner of the goods. He may transfer the goods. He may sell the goods to other person by way of simply transferring the documents of ownership of the goods. So today he may be transferring the goods by only showing the ownership of goods by way of documents entitlement and saying that the goods are shipped and it is arriving by ship. but it might have been destroyed yesterday or just 1 week before. It is not yet known. Only when the ship arrives, they may be able to say that no, no, already the ship, whatever goods you have, as the owner of the goods, you have, it was destroyed by some nature or something happened in the ship itself. It was destroyed. Now, whether it is possible to execute the contract, to perform the contract, to deliver the goods, because the goods already destroyed in the ship by nature or by some accidental things. Even a rat may be eating all the goods. It is not possible now. So that was not known to the parties when they are entering into the contract. It is not known to the parties. So naturally, now after entering into the contract, they come to know before entering into the contract itself, the goods were destroyed. It's a mistake of parties. They are not aware of it. It is honest mistake. It is not an intentional fraudulent thing. It is an honest mistake between the parties. Now what to do? That cannot be performed. It is the entering into such an agreement itself void. So they can simply say it is not at all a valid contract. It is not a valid contract. It is only a void agreement that cannot be enforced. So the first part is that already it is impossible without knowing that they are entering into a contract. That is fine. The second part is very important. At the time of entering into a agreement or contract, it is perfectly possible. It is not at all impossible. It is perfectly possible to perform the contract. But subsequent to the entering into the contract and before executing the contract, before performing the contract, certain events happening, which is not in the control of the parties. And naturally, it becomes impossible for the performance. So we can go through the section 56. We say that a contract to do an act valid, perfectly valid, which after the contract is made, at the time of entering into the contract, it is very good, possible. After the contract is made, becomes impossible. It is after the contract, it becomes impossible by reason of some event which the premiser could not prevent. It is not in their control. It becomes unlawful. Sometimes some trading may also. A particular goods, we may be entering into an agreement. It is perfectly lawful at the time of entering into the agreement. But subsequently, in the month of, they are entering into the contract in the month of March to sell particular product. But in the month of April, before the completing the sale, the government says trading in that particular goods are unlawful. They are making banning of certain goods, banning of certain trade. Then you cannot violate the law by under the contract, saying that under the contract we made the agreement. Now we are going to say because it is compulsory. That cannot be the case because the reason being that you will be doing the unlawful act. Subsequently, the trading of particular becomes unlawful. Now you cannot do the unlawful act. So what happened? It is legally impossible. So you need not perform that contract. So becomes void when the act becomes impossible or unlawful. So at the time of entering into the contract, it may be possible, it may be lawful. But after the contract, without their control, parties' control, it may become impossible or unlawful. Then automatically the contract becomes void. Void means it cannot be enforced. No need to perform such contract. So section 56 is very clear. So this is what we call doctrine of frustration of a contract. This is the English doctrine that is called frustration of a contract that is imported into India by English people during English period. It is contained in section 56. Frustration. Frustration means it is impossible. It is not, the purpose is not serving, not going to service. The entire fact, the entire basis upon which the contract is there, the basis has gone. When the basis has gone, the contract will not survive. So there are two aspects. One, it may become unlawful or it may become impossible. And this may not be expressly stated in the contract. That is not necessary, not at all necessary. Whether you have to write in every contract that if the subject matter is destroyed, we will not be able to perform. It is not at all necessary. It is natural, it is legally natural, commercially natural. So it is implied in every contract. Implied in the sense we need not write such conditions in the contract. Automatically, Section 56 applies whenever there is a legal impossibility. That means the act becomes whatever promise, it becomes unlawful or impossible. Now, there is no condition to that effect in that contract. So, a contract is discharged. The contract is automatically stands determined, terminated, and cannot be enforced by any legal process. The leading case, this is a very leading case in 1863 in England, Taylor versus Caldwell. There, they are very clearly the court held. This is the earliest case in where the doctrine of frustration was founded. A contract is discharged by different methods, by performance, by breach, etc. By impossibility also it is discharged. A contract is also discharged if the specific thing which is essential to the performance of the contract is destroyed. Whatever the subject matter which is the basis for that contract is destroyed. In that case, what happened? One music hall was destroyed. The agreement, what is the agreement? There is an agreement between two parties, Taylor versus Carter. There is an agreement between two parties. The party, one party was asking that other party was having a music hall. So one party is trying to have a music performance. So they want to have a music hall for performing their music concerts, etc., etc. So they just went to the music hall owner and made an agreement that in certain days you have to give the music hall for rental purpose. It is only for hiring purpose only, like a marriage hall. We used to have a marriage hall. We go to a marriage hall and hire the marriage hall for 2 days, and we give the rent and use the marriage hall for the purpose of marriage, etc., legal purpose. Similarly, the music hall they are hiring, drama hall, anything you can hire. So they went to hire a music hall. They hired a hall. They give you some advance amount, etc. Also they are given, and the performing party who hired this hall, they made some arrangement also for expenses also, even maybe decorating the hall. They made them some expenses also. And for arranging their performance, music performance, they expended so many things. It is all natural. Then what happened? Before the time came for the delivery of the car, of course, they made a fixed, okay, next month the program is there. Next month they booked. They booked, yes. The music hall is available. They booked it. And before that performance happened, the music hall was destroyed by fire. Now what to do? Music hall was destroyed by fire. Now the music hall owner, what he can do? Already he lost his music hall. Whatever his property, he lost. Now the music hall is destroyed by fire, by accident, not in his control. He has not given any fire to his own property. It is not so. He has taken all care of his property, but accidentally fire happened and the music hall destroyed. So, what is the way out? What is the way? He cannot do anything. On the day of performance, music hall is not available. It is destroyed by fire. If there is any alternative arrangement, is there? He will do alternative arrangement. Suppose there is no alternative arrangement, what he will do? He will simply say, "Sir, I have given the music hall for rent, but what happened? Now see, my music hall is destroyed by fire. How I can give the music hall now? Not at all. I have already lost my property. Now it is not possible for me to perform the agreement, which means that I cannot give the music hall for the rent. You see it, the condition of music hall, it is totally destroyed. No, nothing can be done with that. I have to demolish it and rebuild it at my cost. Now, the party who has taken it on hire is saying that I have incurred many expenditures for the purpose of preparation. Not only in that music hall, outside also, I have done so many. My performance is there. I have given advance to some parties, some expenditures and advertisement expenditure. Now I am at loss. So now you have to give them a music call. You are not giving the music call means you give me the damages. It is a breach of contract. That is the idea of going to the court by this party. But the court clearly, that is the first time the court clearly held in this leading case. So you find that the plaintiff sued for the defendant. Taylor was asking from the Caldwell, no, 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 you agreed to give me the music call. Now you are not giving the music call for my hire. I could not perform. I have already spent a lot of money. You give me back my money. Give me some damages, compensation. It is all breach of contract by you. Whatever happened, we are not responsible, only you are responsible. But the court held that Caldwell is not responsible. They were saying that no, it is not in his control. He is not making anything intentional breach. Whether he is intentionally refusing it, whether he is capable of doing it now, it is all act of God. God has done. Man proposes, God disposes. So God disposed all this contract. So there is no need of any damages to be given by Caldwell, not necessary. It is impossibility of performance. It is frustration of the contract for which the party is not at all responsible. The music hall owner already his property was destroyed. So it is not possible for him to perform the contract. So he is not at all responsible for not performing the contract. It is only God is responsible. Both the parties, whatever losses for them, they have to bear the losses. Other party need not bear the losses of the another party. So there is no need of giving any damages. There is no breach of contract. It is only impossibility of performance that is discharging the duties of obligations of both the parties. That ends the matter. There is no question of court awarding damages to any person. Only relief they can give if at all the tailor has given any advance amount, that advance amount is liable to be refunded. Not for he is not liable for any damages. So other cases, similarly, you can see other cases. In other cases where they went, some factory premises in which machinery was installed was destroyed by fire. There is a particular machinery to be sold to the other party. Only delivery, etc., has to be taken. And the other things they are performed. But before the time for delivery, etc., the entire factory premises was destroyed by fire. The machinery was also destroyed. So now how they can give the machinery to the other party because it is identified. If they are simply saying we are ready to give you a particular machinery, ready to give any machinery, then they are liable to give the machinery. But here, the machinery was clearly identified. This particular machinery was the subject matter of the contract. That particular machinery itself destroyed. Then there is no possibility. Similarly, in other cases, Oval Vesicco plant, they have made a contract for the sale of potatoes to be grown on a particular field. Now you have to make a difference between whether it is a particular subject matter or a general subject matter. Suppose I am making a contract to supply any potato, 100 kgs, some quality only. A particular quality of potato is 100 tons I will supply. Then I cannot say this is failed, that is failed. It is general. I have to purchase 100 tons of potato from any place and I have to supply it. No other option. But here the subject matter is very specific. They made a contract in a particular field, whatever potato is growing, that will be supplied. It is natural. In farming contract, we find that it is natural. In advance, they go to the field and see the crops. It is likely to be that the crops will be happening, the harvest will be happening after 2 weeks. The crop will be harvested after 2 weeks, 3 weeks only. So before that day itself, they will enter in and give the advance amount also for the crop in that particular field. That is very important. So in that field, it fails. Suppose after a month, at the time of harvest, they find one reason or other reason. It is all natural in agriculture. The harvest failed. They could not get the harvest. So when they are making particular subject matter and that particular subject matter is destroyed, the crop failed. He is not responsible. It is impossible for farmer. So here we have to make a very clear cut distinction. If I'm a trader, I'm simply saying that I will supply 100 tons of potato. It is my duty to supply it. If I might have, I have to purchase it from some persons, etc. Right? Maybe that. From that source, I may not be able to purchase. It is only commercial impossibility. If I am saying to the other party, no, 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 the farmers they are not supplying to me, other party is not supplying to me, I am not able to get the procurement so that to supply to you, the entire crops by those farmers failed, then it is not a commercial impossibility. It is a commercial impossibility, not the legal impossibility. In that case, I am responsible for the performance. In that case, if I am not performing it, it is a breach of contract and I have to pay the damages. No escape at all under section 56. No escape of impossibility of performance. But if it is a specific property, in that case, I am a farmer. I am saying this is my field. So I have already planted everything. The crop is in the advanced stage. Next month I'll do the harvest. This property, this particular potatoes, brinjal, tomato, whatever may be the product, I will sell it. I'm making particular product, not the general product. In that case, the particular product failed. It is impossible to have performance. I am not responsible for the payment of any damages to the other party. Here, there is a charter party means they are sending the goods by making a charter, and since entire ship is hired for transporting the goods. Now the charter party means the ship has to deliver the goods to the person. After delivering the goods, they have to take the higher charges, shipping charges from the party. Now the entire ship is seized by the enemy. Now whether they will be able to deliver the goods, enemy persons, they have suddenly came, attacked, and taken away the ship. Entire ship is taken along with the goods. Now, whether it is possible to deliver the goods, it is already with the enemy custody. How we can do it? So, in that case, it is treated as legal impossibility. 1938 case. Here also, subject matter greatly destroyed. So, it is also a cargo means shipping. It is all under shipping. In the shipping, natural perils happens. They are sending the dead fruits by way of shipping. Yeah, they have to deliver the goods. Now what happened? They delivered the goods, but more or less because of some natural things happening, it was destroyed. By the ship was almost under sea, but they recovered it from the ship and they are delivering the goods also. The goods were whatever the dates, the quality deteriorated. It was damaged. But whether the cargo owners can claim the liability or whether the delivery is to be taken as a valid delivery. Now they have told that the subject matter had greatly deteriorated, which means that here what happened? The impossibility is on the part of the other party only. Which party? The person who is delivering the goods. The reason being because of naturally something happened, they could not deliver the goods. Now what happens? The remedy, what happens? Remedy. Both the parties are discharged from the contract. Now, even though they are delivering some goods, but it is not worthable. It is saleable, but instead of selling it for 100 rupees, now they can sell it for 10 rupees only, some useless thing only. So it made impossible. The delivery was not actually a proper delivery of the goods. The reason being because of the natural things happened during the sea voyage. Now, whether the other party, the charter party who hired the goods, whether they are liable to pay the price for the delivery of goods. No, the other party is also not liable because of this impossibility. And this is a Indian case law in 1953 under section 56 of the Contract Act. Here what happens? Here also it is similar like Taylor versus Caldwell. Similar, but the facts are little different. It is a movie hall. So movie hall, they are entering into the producer or distributor, whoever it may be. So the distributor or producer, they are releasing the movie in the particular movie hall, cinema hall, and they'll make a contract that you will distribute the movie to particular hall for particular days. You have to do it. The condition they made in this contract that as long as minimum collection is there, you go on display the movie. You should not stop the movie as long as minimum collection is. So they are performing the contract. After some few weeks, what happened? Because of the heavy rain, it is natural rain. Yes, some of the portion of the cinema hall collapsed. Now, what happened? It is not a safe place. It is not a safe public place. Naturally, what the police authorities or revenue authorities, they will say that it is not usable for public purpose. What is the public purpose here? People will come and watch the movie. It is not safer. So they have made it clear that you should not use it for the purpose of displaying the movies. You have to make a extensive repair. Of course, it is not immediately possible. So a cinema hall owners say that now I cannot display the movie because already my cinema hall is damaged. Now the police authorities also preventing me from using the cinema hall. Now it is impossibility of performance. I need not perform the contract. I need not display the movie as agreed. Yes, the court held that yes, you need not do it because it is under section 56 of the contract. Impossibility of the performance because the subject matter is the purpose of the hiring that cinema hall is displaying the movie, etc. But that is prevented by nature. Destroyed. The hall is destroyed, and the police authorities also not allowing anybody to. So this is what we call as the contract of frustration. So the non-performance was due to impediment beyond its control, and it could not be reasonably foreseen. Reasonably foreseen. Nobody can see heavy rain suddenly will come and do all the things. In Tamil Nadu, suddenly heavy rain comes and entire flood is in your house. So it is all beyond our control. So it is called as act of God or act of nature. And Krell versus Henry, like Taylor versus Caldwell, Krell versus Henry also some leading case. It also happened in 1993 in England. Here we already seen some subject matter destroyed. That is one possibility. Then sometimes purpose of the contract may be frustrated. So what is the purpose of a contract? It depends upon circumstances. And if the purpose is known to the other parties, then when the purpose is frustrated, there is an impossibility of performance. Here, what happened? They entered in a contract in 1902. Here also, they are hiring of a particular flat for 2 days. And in the 2 days, there is a procession by the king. So ultimately, both the parties knew the hiring of the call, the purpose was from that hall, occupying the hall, the person will be able to witness the procession. That is the purpose. Witnessing the procession taken by the king. That is the purpose. It is known to both the parties. Of course, they might not have written it in the contract. The contract contained no express reference to the coronation processions, but it was known to the party. Deposit was also given by the party to take the flat on rent. But suddenly the procession was cancelled. So when the procession was cancelled, the purpose is frustrated. So the higher person he will not take the There is no use in taking the hiring the flat. So the balance amount also is not paying the balance amount. Now the flat owner is asking for the balance amount in the court of law. But the court held that no, not necessary. From the circumstances, surrounding circumstances, both the contracting parties knew the purpose of the contract. The purpose of taking the flat is for the purpose of witnessing the coronation process. Now it has become frustrated by cancellation of the procession. So automatically it becomes impossible. There is no need of, it is a frustration of contract. So there is no need of taking the flat and paying the balance rent. There is not necessary. The court held. So it is very clear. Though general and unconditional were not used with reference to the possibility of particular contingency which afterwards happened. So it was not expressly there. The words were not expressly there. But still, it is an implied condition because the purpose is known to the party, implies the condition that as long as the purpose is served, the contract will be performed. If the purpose is not served, the contract is need not be performed. So the plaintiff was not entitled to recover the balance of rent because the purpose of the contract was frustrated. Now, force majeure. What do you mean by force majeure? Force majeure means the same thing as extraordinary event, situation, or circumstances, which may include an act of God or even accidents or any other circumstances also. Now we have seen that there are some implied conditions under section 56. It becomes impossibility of performance as because of performance, act of God or nature, certain circumstances only. In the case of force majeure, you can prescribe any circumstances and make any express terms in a contract. That is the idea of force majeure. So you make a contract. When you make a contract, you make some terms and conditions saying that in such and such circumstances, not only act of God or accident, etc., even a special circumstances for the particular contract, you make it as a force majeure clause and say that if that happens, the contract need not be performed. That will be the force majeure clause. So you will find that in any contract, in a commercial contract, they'll have a lot of force majeure clauses. Force majeure clause in a contract is an expressed provision. Now you make the difference between frustration, impossibility under section 50 series. That is implied. You need not write anything. But if you want to make any such circumstances, whether it is covered under 56 or not, many circumstances may not be covered under section 56, like some civil disturbance, some other commercial conditions, certain conditions, it will not come under. So that condition, you can make it as a force majeure clauses also. Both the parties, they can make a expressed provision to identify those circumstances or situation peculiar to that contract. In such cases, if that condition happens, it will become impossible to be carried out by the parties. Force majeure free both the parties from contractual liability when prevented by that particular stipulated specified events. If that specified events happening, then they will not do their obligation, not necessary to perform their obligations. Then what about commercial impossibility? Generally, I have already discussed about commercial impossibility also. There may be cases of increase in raw material, wages, non-availability of materials, strike of workmen, civil disturbance. These commercial impossibility will not be taken as legal impossibility. Law of contract is always a commercial law. So when you have undertaken commercially to perform certain promises, you have to do. You cannot say that commercially it is not possible. If it is legally impossible, that is excuse. Commercial impossibility is not at all an excuse for the performance of the contract. Now, now we have come to the our end of the session. I thank you all for listening to this video lecture. Thank you.